a 15-year-old girl disappeared from her bedroom under mysterious circumstances. The police, the FBI, and hundreds of volunteers were looking for her. As detectives delved into the case, they discovered many eerie facts and ultimately solved this disturbing case. In this video, we will tell you what happened to Riley Crossman and why the public was outraged after learning the bitter truth. Riley Crossman was born on December 22, 2003 in the small American town of Martinsburg, West Virginia. Her parents divorced when she was young, and the girl, along with her mother and younger sister, arrived in Berkeley Springs, a town 40 kilometers from Martinsburg. After some time, her mother began dating another man, and they had 2 more children. At the same time, Riley maintained a close relationship with her father and regularly went to visit him. The girl studied at Berkeley Springs High School and studied dancing and singing. She also had a boyfriend named Hayden Lacey. According to her parents, they had a wonderful relationship. Riley was happy. She and her boyfriend even had a joint account on Instagram where they posted common photos. Her mother, Chantal Oakle, worked 2 jobs. On May 7, 2019, Riley came home from school at approximately 3:30 p.m. to find her mom napping on the couch. Chantal worked 2 jobs to make ends meet, and that day she also didn't feel well, so she asked to leave her first job early so she could get some sleep before her evening shift. Later, after seeing her mother off to work, Riley ran to visit her grandmother, returned home, and went up to the 2nd floor to her room. Chantal came home from her 2nd job at 10:30 p.m. She didn't wake up her roommate, who was sleeping in the living room, went into the boys' room on the 1st floor to make sure Annie had put them to bed, and went to sleep in the bedroom located on the 1st floor. The woman had a headache. Noticing from below that the door to her daughter's room was closed, she thought that Riley was sleeping or chatting on the phone, and decided not to disturb her. The morning of Wednesday, May 8, 2019, was ordinary. Annie had already left for work. Chantal got her sons up, fed them breakfast, and cleaned up. Before leaving the house, she looked at Riley. The daughter's room was empty, but this was not surprising. The teenage girl almost always ran away early so that she could chat with friends before school. Chantal put the boys in the car and drove them to school. Thus began a day that forever changed the life of a mother of many children. By lunchtime, Chantal received a text from school notifying her that Riley had not shown up for class. A woman tried to call her daughter, but the robotic voice indifferently repeated, "The subscriber is unavailable." Chantal asked to leave work and rushed home. Along the way, she met Hayden, Riley's boyfriend. He said that he went on an excursion with the class, just returned, did not see Riley today, and she did not call him. Chantal hoped that the teenage girl had the rebellious idea of skipping class, even though she had never done such a thing before. Riley wasn't home. Her mother called all her classmates and friends. No one knew where she was and had not seen her during the day. A review of her social media showed that the last activity was on May 7 around 11 o'clock. The feeling of panic in Chantal's soul grew at an alarming rate. She contacted the police. Local authorities took Riley's disappearance seriously from the very beginning. Both the mother and the father, who learned about the disappearance of their daughter, assured that she could not go somewhere without warning them about it, and without telling them when she would return. Chantal divorced her first husband a long time ago, but maintained a good relationship with him. Riley spent a lot of time with her father, often staying overnight with him. The 2 adored each other. A search of the girl's bedroom confirmed the parents' fears. Most likely she did not leave the house of her own free will. Among other things, Riley's glasses and purse were found. She never went outside without them. A backpack with textbooks was also in place. An examination of Riley's bed revealed blood stains on the sheets and comforter. Spatter was also found on the inside of the bedroom door. DNA testing confirmed the blood belonged to Riley Crossman. The assumption was that the young girl was kidnapped. But by who? The police began the investigation by interviewing people close to Riley Crossman: mother, father, grandmother, and Andy McCauley. While detectives were checking their alibi, Chantel's neighbor contacted the station. He recalled that on the morning of May 8, after the neighbor had left with her sons, a green truck similar to the one Andy McCauley was driving pulled up to her house. The neighbor could not say whether he was driving, since he was busy with his own business, and did not see whether anyone got out of the car, and when he looked out the window again, the car had already left. When asked about his whereabouts on May 8, 2019, Andy replied that he had been at work all day. But according to colleagues, McCauley was absent for at least 5 hours. He arrived at work at 8 a.m., and this was almost the only time he was not late. At 9 a.m. he left in a company truck, saying that he needed to carry out an urgent assignment from his superiors, and returned only at 1400 hours. The police questioned Andy again. He admitted that he was addicted to illegal substances and went to see his dealer. He stated that he saw Riley for the last time on May 7, somewhere between 2130 and 2200 hours. She wished him good night and went up to her room. He also fell asleep and slept until the morning. Everything that happened to her later was for it's just as much of a mystery to him as it is to everyone else. Investigators seized McCauley's cell phone in hopes of tracking his movements, but were disappointed to realize that the device had remained stationary all day. It is unknown whether he left the phone at home on purpose or simply forgot to take it. However, detectives still found interesting information in the gadget. Calls were made from McCauley's phone to Riley's phone overnight at 3 o'clock, 3:34, and 3:52. Moreover, the caller used the *67 function, which allows you to hide the identity of the caller. It also became known that at 4:15, Riley tried to contact her boyfriend Hayden via FaceTime, but the young man was sleeping at that time. What she wanted to tell him at that hour will forever remain a mystery. Reviewing video footage from cameras located along suburban highways gave detectives a major lead. The Dodge truck McCauley drove away from work was spotted driving up a mountain road around 10 a.m. More than 300 searches, using specially trained dogs, searched for a missing teenage girl in the area. On May 16, 2019, the parents' hopes of seeing their daughter alive collapsed. In the area of Tuscarora Pike, 2 officers came across her body, wrapped in a bag. Her torn clothes were covered in a white, lime-like substance. Exactly the same bags and substance as Riley's blood were found earlier during a search of the green Dodge. Andy McCauley was charged with the murder of Riley Crossman and arrested. A little later, according to the results of the examination, McCauley was also accused of abuse. After this, the case stalled for more than 2 years, as the trial did not begin until September 27, 2021. This was due to the coronavirus and the restrictions associated with it, as well as the peculiarities of the U.S. judicial system, where such delays are the norm. At the trial, it turned out that Chantel and Annie's mother not only knew about his addiction to illegal substances, but also knew that under their influence the man became aggressive and dangerous. At trial, McCauley insisted that he was not involved in Riley's death. First, as I already said, he went to the dealer, used it, and then went to the mountains to be alone with himself. Chantel did not hide the fact that she knew about her roommate's addiction to illegal substances and alcohol, but at the same time he did not become aggressive, and she did not notice Annie's manifestation of unhealthy interest in her daughter. However, Riley's boyfriend, Hayden, called as a witness, said that Riley shared with him concerns about McCauley's behavior. She noticed that at night he would sometimes quietly open the door to her room, look at her, and disappear at the slightest rustle. Chantel said her daughter didn't tell her about it. Prosecutors alleged that on the night of May 7 to 8, toward the morning, Annie McCauley came into Riley Crossman's bedroom, sexually assaulted her, took her life, and hid her under the bed so that she could take her body out in the morning in a work truck. He knew that the girl always left for school early, and her mother would not worry if she did not see her in the morning. Lawyers pressed on the indirectness of the evidence. Macaulay steadfastly denied any wrongdoing. The outcome of the case depended on the decision of the jury. The final meeting here took place on October 5, 2021. Despite the fact that all the available evidence was circumstantial and did not directly link Andy to the murder, the jury returned a guilty verdict. He was found guilty of murder and sentenced to life in prison. Next, the question of the possibility of immediate release was considered. Andy's lawyers asked to be given this opportunity under protection after 15 years. But ultimately, the judge decided on a life sentence without the possibility of early release. While the judge announced the verdict, Andy showed no emotion. At previous meetings, he also seemed distant and uninterested. Apparently, he resigned himself to the inevitable. This story was actively covered in American media, and people's opinions were divided. Some placed the blame on the girl's mother, who brought a convicted drug addict into her home and built a family with him. At the same time, at the trial, she assured that the thought that Annie could harm her children never occurred to her. Others came to the mother's defense, believing that she could not have foreseen this outcome. Most of the time, she worked 2 jobs to support her family. And perhaps she never even had time to think about how her decisions might affect her children. Chantel and her sons left Berkeley Springs immediately after the sentencing.